Hi, I'm going to be doing my presentation today on Walt Disney and his leadership styles. I hope you enjoy. Walt Disney was born Walter Elias Disney. He started his life in Chicago, Illinois, and ended up in California after a long journey of ups and downs. He started producing cartoons with his brothers in 1923 and created his first film in 1937, which was named Snow White. His greatest accomplishment was of Disneyland in 1957 that made Walt Disney a legend. He changed the structure of amusement parks and created the first theme park, which was Disneyland. This creation changed hospitality and leadership forever. Walt Disney is considered
Walt Disney was
a legend. He has been listed as a great American with other legends of his generation like Henry Ford and Thomas Edison. Walt technically had no formal training. He wasn't trained by any books or classes. He taught himself.
What he did have was a vision.
What he did
Disney
have was
an
that
American
vision.
animator,
Disney
entrepreneur,
was an American
and film
animator,
and television
entrepreneur,
producer,
and film and
best
television
known
producer,
for creating the
best known
characters
for
Mickey
creating the
Mouse
characters of
and
Mickey
Donald
Mouse,
Duck, and the
Donald
famous
Duck
theme
and
parks
his
of
theme parks.
Disneyland in California and Walt
Disneyland
Disney
is in
World
California,
Florida.
Walt Disney World's in Florida.
He operated
He
on
operated on
passion
that passion
and
and
observation.
He was a dreamer
and an innovator.
He was a dreamer that never
Disney
stopped dreaming.
dreamed.
His famous quote,
Disney was a dreamer
you
that
can
could
do
never
it,
stop dreaming.
says it all in a nutshell.
His famous
Disney
quote,
was a
"If
dreamer
you
with a
dream
vision
it,
who knew
you
how
can
to
do
ensure
it,"
his dreams
says it all in
became
a
reality.
nutshell. Walt
Through
was
his
a dreamer
leadership,
with
he
a
created
vision
a
who
committed
knew how to ensure
team
his
that
dreams
was
became
loyal
reality.
and respected.
Through his
Walt
leadership,
Disney.
he created a committed team that was loyal and respected Walt Disney.
Walt Disney, full name Walter Elias Disney, was born December 5th, 1901 in Chicago, Illinois, and died December 15th, 1966 in Los Angeles, California. His father was Elias Disney, an Irish-Canadian, and his mother was Flora Kelly, who was German-American. Disney was one of 5 children. It is said that in his younger days, his dad was an alcoholic and wasn't really around that much, so his mom was a single mom and took care of him and the family. She unfortunately died at an early age, so Disney took care of his other siblings. It is, don't know if it's a myth or it's actually true, but that is one of the reasons why in most Disney movies, some of the times there's not a mom present or the parents have passed away. He used that sometimes as his signature to show what his life was like. Disney did attend a high school in Chicago during the day, and at night he attended the Art Institute of Chicago. He did not like the structure of schools because he only wanted to learn about art, and that was his passion. He decided to drop out at the age of 16, tried to join the Army, but was denied due to his age, so he joined the American Red Cross for a year and spent that time in France driving an ambulance. Disney created the great characters of Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. He planned and built Disneyland, a huge amusement park that opened near Los Angeles in 1955, and before his death, he had begun building a second such park, Walt Disney World, near Orlando, Florida. The Disney company he founded has become one of the world's largest entertainment conglomerates. During his life, he won 22 Academy Awards. He died at the age of 65 due to lung cancer. It all started with a dream. Disney believed in his dreams and that his dreams were visions. During his early years, some may have thought he was a little crazy with his huge dreams, but they soon became to follow his lead. He was known to push people. Some saw this style as being an authoritarian because he ruled by that fear and intimidation, and he may have been in the beginning of his career, but he learned. Just like we all do, he learned and he adapted. He had thousands of loyal employees who respected and loved working for him. The vision for Walt was known as his story. Everything has a story. What is your story? What is the story that you want to tell? This simple line and idea is used by many companies and leaders today. This is one concept that I have used over my career, whether it be hospitality or right now I'm in health administration. I always use and think in my head, even if it's just with my personal goals, what is the story that I personally want to tell? And I tell it to my team, what is our story? What is it that we are trying to do? And it gets people thinking. It seems like an easy concept, but you have to think. You have to really think, what do we want our story to tell? Because we don't ever want it to be a bad one. Walt used this concept for all of his films, rides, and even meetings. Disneyland was created by telling a story. Once you cross over that entrance, every part of the theme park has a meaning to the story. The employees are the cast, jobs are performances, and uniforms are costumes. Think about that the next time you visit Disney World or Disneyland, or really anything Disney, even Disney stores. Look for the story. All of Walt's visions led to the best customer service in the hospitality industry. Disney may have been demanding. He expected perfection from everyone. You learned an enormous amount from Disney. He would groom you as a person, and many thought of him as a genius. He involved his staff in ideas. He called them gag sessions. He would have these gag sessions where employees would throw around and toss ideas until a solid foundation appeared. Disney was an innovator and a dreamer. He was also an exceptional leader. From his palette of skills and qualities, he exemplified numerous characteristics of leadership such as vision, communication skills, people skills, boldness, and a humble heart. Disney was one that was an expert. He was reverent, legitimate, and cohesive power. He was an expert in his field. For a while, he was one of the only ones. He knew his vision and he delivered upon it. He grew to being that individual within the Disney empire. He worked his way up from the bottom to the top. Within that skills approach, he was technical, human, and then he moved on to conceptual. So he just did that step in every part of his life. He grew to being an individual within the Disney empire. He worked his way from the bottom to the top. He knew what the skills you had to have first before you could be the leader, and he worked his way up, learning the technical aspects to the human skills, and then finally having those conceptual skills. Risk was the name of the game for Disney. His entire life was a risk. But was it a gamble? His risk seemed to be calculated risk. He was a businessman. He knew what he was doing to an extent. He always researched. He researched the places for Disneyland to be built. And he went with a city that had a booming population that he knew would end up coming to that park and spending that money. He was an innovator. His peers said that it was always 2 steps ahead of everyone. The technology in his films and rides were always the best. When he noticed that his staff couldn't find classes to keep up with the future of art and technology, he created his own school. He wasn't perfect. He failed on the way to success. When he had a setback, he would say, "That's a good thing because now we can try it this way." It's not how we fail, but it's how we pick ourselves up and move on from that failure. The story. It started with a dream that led to a vision, that led to a story, that led to magic. How did Disney get so many people to believe in this magic story? It all had to do with trust. Walt made sure that his staff felt invested. He created those relationships that were needed. He included them in every story. No matter if it was a film or a ride, he ensured his staff that they were involved. He wanted his staff to feel his vision and be part of his story. So he encouraged them to continue growing, even if this meant budging some people that were hesitant to move out of their comfort zone. There's a story involving the movie Fantasia. A staff member was working on the Nutcracker suite, and he wasn't getting the job done, and it was really frustrating Disney. Disney asked him, "What's going on?" And the staff member told him he wasn't interested in this movie. He didn't know anything about ballet, so how could he draw it? Disney called the local ballet company and arranged for this worker to sit behind stage for their entire season so he could become familiar with ballet. So Disney's leadership style. The Blake Moulton leadership style shows leadership based on the manager's concern for people and production. It's a task versus relationship orientation. Task goes towards that goal, and it's always about the goal, whereas relationship is about the team or people. It's about making sure that that team is comfortable and able to express their opinions and decisions. Disney, in all the articles that I read, was known as this authoritarian. He was the sole controller over all decisions. It was his company. He did not want to leave it to others to mess up. He was a strong leader that motivated his team, but yet, in the end, it was still his decision and no one else's decision. So he began his career as a full-on authoritarian, but he also led with that team management because he created those relationships. It was all about the team. The only issue was, even though the teams had, he listened to their opinions, doesn't mean he actually took them into any aspect in any of his decision making. When I was reading the articles, it almost seemed like really Disney just wanted a group of people that thought like him. Every single move was just like him, almost like robots that were created from Disney. And honestly, we're kind of all like that because we can get frustrated if we have this idea and we're trying to relate it to tell someone about it and they can't get it. It's like, just think like myself, just think like me. And it's almost like Disney was thinking that. I also thought, could he be middle of the road? Because, he's authoritarian, but he was also that team management. It was like, where was that equal balance? But he couldn't, because middle of the road only expects average performance from their team. And Disney expected not only the very best, but the very, very best. And he didn't settle for anything less. I mean, he was known for terminating employees on the spot if they didn't do what he said or their work was less than par. So the Hershey-Blanchard model suggests that there's no single leadership style that is better than the other. So you need to adapt. Instead of focusing on workplace factors, the model suggests leaders adjust their styles and adapt to their followers, their abilities. Under this model, successful leadership is both task and relationship. So this one I think is this one better explains Disney. Because he was that authoritarian, but he also coached, he supported, he delegated. He did all that at different points. And he was just, well-rounded in a whole. You have to adapt to the situation. It's imperative. And Disney did learn through the years that if he was going to have to do this if he wanted to succeed. He said one of the best quotes that I use almost every day: you can design and create and build the most wonderful place in the world, but it takes people to make the dream a reality. And that right there sums up every aspect of life. You can have this awesome idea, no matter if it's in your personal life or if it's in your professional career. You can have this idea. You can have this great idea, and you can have all the guidelines that you need for it. You have those policies, you have those procedures, but you can't all do it by yourself. You have to have people behind you, people that are motivated, that see that vision and want to pursue what you have as your vision. And Disney was able to passionately communicate that vision. Despite his many accomplishments, he knew he didn't do it alone. He recognized and he often attributed his success to the many talented individuals on his team. He said, the whole thing here is the organization. Whatever we accomplish belongs to our entire group, a tribute to our combined efforts. Just one thing that I just thought was kind of funny is he would say all these inspiring quotes, but his decision was his decision. Walt drew people in with his charismatic charm and family-like environment. He was very, very much a charismatic leader after, he learned, but he still had that authoritarian part to him. He demanded excellence from his employees, and in return, he rewarded them. He tried to instill an environment of trust and sense of caring in the employees. He had a casual personal relationship with his staff that built that trust and confidence needed to see that Disney vision. He worked beyond the traditional leadership. He took risks and motivated his followers. He treated his team members as decision makers instead of executors of the leaders, yet he still had that final say. Finally, some leadership lessons that we can learn and take away from Disney is never stop dreaming. Disney was a dreamer. Even after he became successful, he never stopped dreaming. There are still ideas out there that Walt Disney had that have not even begun the first steps to creating. He still has ideas, even past his death, that Disney is trying to implement. Keep on keeping on. Disney suffered many setbacks throughout his career. Mickey Mouse wasn't created in a day, wasn't created in a year, or many years. He certainly wasn't an overnight success. A closer look at Disney's story shows he went through a difficult 10-year period between starting his first business and achieving success with Mickey Mouse. Storytelling. Human beings naturally think in stories and not in abstract concepts. To say Disney understood this is an understatement. As he built his empire in storytelling, what people don't know is that Disney often used it in all of his meetings with executives, team members to illustrate his company vision. Every aspect of his life was a story. When you need your team to learn a new concept or strategy, don't forget the importance of telling that compelling story. It will help. It helps with that decision and communication of your vision. Walt was a man that dared to dream the impossible. His dreams of the happiest place on earth and making people happy may have seemed small, but it changed the world. We must not forget that it all started with a mouse.